Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Wrestling Pod. And you know what? Beware of dog, but more likely, beware of Andrew Lee, bro. Andrew Lee has some thoughts on AEW this week. Give it to
Oh
us,
yeah,
brother.
yeah. We were so right before we decided to put on the pod, we were talking about what happened in AEW this week. There was a segment where Chris Statlander was facing Megan Bayne, and then Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford were ganging up and beating down um, Chris Statlander, and then Thunder Rosa runs down with the steel chair because the steel chair is supposed to be like it's two against one. So you use the steel chair to equalize things, right? Balance it out, two against one, right? This is a an angle. This is like something that is booked multiple times throughout the years in all pro wrestling, right? You run a good guy
Mhm.
runs down with the chair to square off against the bad guys. And Ray, when this happens, what normally is supposed to happen?
The other people get out of the way so they can let the angle take place.
Very yes, that's exactly right. The bad guys are supposed to be scared away, and the good guy is supposed to be left standing holding the chair, right?
Mhm.
Well, that didn't happen this week on AEW. They decided to reinvent the wheel, and Thunder Rosa came in with the chair. Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford were not scared at all. In fact, they stepped up to her, right? They got closer to her, like, and almost like teasing her to go ahead, hit me with the chair. Thunder Rosa then swung the chair, but it was a half swing, and she pulled her swing, so she didn't actually hit them. And then when she did that, Penelope Ford grabbed the other end of the chair, and they started doing a tug of war with the chair. Penelope Ford won the chair. She actually got the chair from Thunder Rosa, and she just puts it down the ring. Then Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne decide to walk out, and they go on the ramp. And then Thunder Rosa picks up the chair again, and then she throws it at them on the ramp. Now we all know this is not a good angle. This was done very poorly. But there's two theories on what happened, and I'm gonna list both theories. And then Ray, I want you to tell me which theory you think is true, okay, or you think it is. First theory is that it was miscommunication and nobody knew what they're doing because Tony Khan has gone on record that he does not do production meetings. Even though it's a television show, they're not doing any production meetings. So
That's not.
chances are that Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford didn't really know what was supposed to happen with the angle and they didn't know how to react to it. So it made everybody look bad because it was just miscommunication. That's theory
That's
one.
that's not
Theory
it.
two is that Thunder Rosa has a lot of heat. People just don't like her in AEW, especially since she's on Busted Open and she's constantly praising WWE, including what happened with uh, Ricky Saints going over to in NXT, and she was praising that. So this was supposedly done to make her look weak and bad as punishment. Those are the two
That,
theories.
that's what I'm going with.
Theory what? Number one or two?
Theory two. Theory two.
Why are you going with theory two?
Because it makes okay. So I just watch wrestling. I don't participate in it. I would assume that I should run out of the ring. If I'm not have a production meeting and she's running it and I'm the heel, I would assume I should leave the ring. The only
Correct.
reason, the only reason you do that, let's say like there was no production meeting and now they have to make a choice. What do I do with this chair? You do that because you want Thunder Rosa to look bad. The common sense thing would be leave the ring. You know, if you're the heel, if you're the face, it's different. Leave the
Unless
ring.
you're really, really stupid.
They're not that stupid.
Yeah.
They're,
And
they're
if
pretending
they
to be
are
that.
that stupid, maybe they shouldn't be in the wrestling business if they're
They're
that stupid.
pretending to be that stupid. They're not that
Nah.
stupid. This was done deliberately to make her look bad.
Okay. I also am like you. I personally also think that it was theory two that they did it deliberately. There are some people that you and I both know that think it's theory one because they know
No.
the people. Because they know the people, you know?
Oh, they met Megan Bain. They walked by her once at an indie show, so they know that she would never do that too.
Maybe, yeah. It's
Um,
definitely
oh,
I'm with you. It's theory one. It's theory
that's it.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
It
they,
makes
they,
by the
uh,
way,
they, these women are very catty in AEW. There's definitely like some Queen of the Jungle bullshit going on in the back, you know?
mhm. By the way, regardless if it's theory one or two, it's bad. It makes everybody look bad. If it's theory one, it's telling me that um it's unprofessional there, and the people who work there are complete idiots. Because even if there was no
Yes.
production meeting, like you said, common sense would be like, I'm the bad guy, she's the good guy. I already got my beat down in. I should just leave the ring and act like I'm scared of her. That's common sense. So if it's theory one that they're just stupid, they're really, it makes everybody look bad, right? It makes Tony Khan look like he's not even a professional
Either way,
player.
it makes everyone look.
Yeah, and it makes them all look bad. Terrible stuff.
But speaking
Ricky
of terrible
Starks, by the
stuff,
way. Oh yeah, let's just get right into it. Fuck it. Yeah,
but
no
yeah,
more.
well, Ricky Starks and Ricky Saints. The verdict. We can't judge if that's good or bad yet. We'll talk about that in a few weeks.
No, I like it. I mean,
I
dude,
like it too, but like ultimately, it's too early to like really comment on what's going to happen with this guy. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
so far,
And what?
everything's in the right direction for his life, which I'm happy
Yeah.
for.
By the way, his options were probably, if you want to go with Ricky Starks, you have to give us the rights to your name, because WWE does that to people. Ricky Starks is like, I don't want to give you the rights to my name. If I get fired, that means I lose my name, Ricky Starks. So he's
It's
gonna pick
good to have
Ricky.
it's good to have two names like this because it's more marketable.
Exactly. Why are
If
people going, oh, they ruined them already? How do you fucking know, you idiots? You know, like,
if
people are so
Kevin
stupid.
Owens ever if Kevin Owens ever takes off and shows up at AEW and screams like he screams like Hangman Adam Page, now you're gonna have to face Kevin Steen. People are gonna go
Yeah.
fucking ballistic. Like it's
Yeah.
good, it's marketable, and then you make your own, and then he gets to keep all his own merch. Sami Zayn still makes El Generico merch, and he makes a ton of money off it.
Yeah. See, guys, I know you hate Ricky Saints, but not every name is going to be a winner like Cope. Okay. So you guys all need to cope with that.
What if
Isn't
he calls
that
himself
crazy?
Ricky Hope?
Isn't that crazy? He should have, dude. That would have been so funny if he, out of spite, had decided to change his name to Ricky Cope. That would have been so funny. I would have been laughing my ass off if it was
There was
Ricky
never
Cope.
anyone in WWE with the name of Cope, so they could do it. Ricky Cope.
Yeah, Ricky Cope. That would have been really funny. Oh my gosh, that would have been petty. Oh man.
Um, so, Andrew Lee, I know you're not afraid of Megan Bain, but you should beware of Dog. That is the show we're talking about. In Your House, beware of Dog. I have to say, I've never seen the show until just now. I have to say, you really can't call this a good show or a bad show. It just is. It's just they had to do what they had to do. Unforeseen circumstances. So I don't really know how you can judge the show, but it's interesting from a historical standpoint.
Yeah, it's funny. We have a Beware of Dog pay-per-view, but you got the cat there. You can bring the dog
The
out. The dog's
cat,
cuter anyway.
well, the cats are sleeping. So
Oh,
I mean, the dogs are sleeping. The cats.
are you gonna be sad?
Yeah, eventually.
All right. Well, I was sad watching this in your house. In your house, Beware of Dog. If you want to go by numeric order, if you're trying to keep trying to keep it in track, this is In Your House 8, the eighth one of In Your House. But now we are 100% going into no more numbers for it. It's Beware of Dog. It's Vader time. 6,000 people were in attendance, and 400 4,500 people the second night. Well, you guys were saying what? But yes, Beware of Dog was 2 nights. One was in
Like,
Florence. Yeah, one was in Florence, South Carolina. The second night was in Charleston, South Carolina. The reason why this happened, 2 night event, was because on May 26th, there was a thunderstorm, a really bad, severe thunderstorm, and it caused a power outage in the arena. So they had to do a second night of it on May 28th.
what
The
happened
first,
was after the first match, the power goes out on the feed. It comes back briefly. Vince McMahon goes, "We're going to try to get this up before the main event, but we'll have an announcement on Raw." Then the feed goes dead. You're watching it live. The feed is just dead for like most of the night. So it
mm,
literally came back on right before the main event. That
yes,
so basically people that ordered this show were watching a blue screen for most of the night. And while it's a blue screen, they had matches going on in the ring in the dark. Somehow there's footage of Austin Savio. They must have been like just on. They must have. I would love to see this in the vault, like the original card. You know,
yeah,
like the original matches, and some of the finishes were different because it was for the non televised crowd. For example, Yokozuna beats Vader at the first Beware of Dog. you know. And they were waiting for the lights to come on, and apparently the wrestlers had instructions that if the lights come on, you do this finish. If the lights are off, you do this finish. So
I see. That's
it's
interesting.
chaos in the WWE. Bad luck. They had
You
to
know
give out
what?
a lot of refunds.
You know what you could do? You know the WWE Vault YouTube channel?
Yeah, put the original show on there. Yeah.
You could actually comment, can you put this show on? Like if enough people suggest things, they'll put whatever people suggest or want on it. So you could probably do that, comment on them and then say, hey, can you put this on? You know?
Yeah, I would love to see what was going on in the lights were off because they clearly have the footage because they show you before the Austin match on the second night, but we no one's ever seen it, and I would love to see what exactly these guys are doing in the dark. But it's a weird night. The show is very strange because it goes from the first match right to the main event, and then the do over of the undercard on night two. And the night two is at a Superstars taping, so Vince and Jerry Lawler aren't even the announcers for night two. Night two, the announcers are Jim Ross and Mr. Perfect, and this is one of the first times Jim Ross is doing a two-man booth on a pay-per-view for a whole show. And Jim Ross thinks this show is the reason why he eventually becomes the main announcer on Raw and the pay-per-views.
I think that's actually, if that's true, I think it makes sense because he blows Junior out the water. By the
Was
way,
not. I'll just say this. I was not looking forward to watching those last three matches after the Shawn Michaels match, and Jim Ross made them really good. Like
yes,
he really made that makeup show watchable. So
it's like this is like 1996 is like prime JR or something. It was so good. It was so good on commentary.
he's so good. He's so good on night two, man.
Yeah. He what do you call it? By the way, if you're wondering pay-per-view buys, first night had 116,000 buys, 117,000 buys second night. In comparison, the In Your House previous had 165,000 pay-per-view buys. On the other side, and
But if you
WCW,
bought night one already, you got night two for free.
yeah. So that's why it's similar. Slamboree, on the other side, had 155,000 buys. So In Your House is still it's not like a major pay-per-view. It's still a very low drawing pay-per-view. We're gonna start the show with this great Shawn Michaels, Davey Boy Smith home
Janelle
wreck.
Grant, who goes back in time to ruin Shawn Michaels' life.
Yeah, it's Shawn Michaels. He's wrecking the home of Davey Boy Smith. The package built on this, and we got, as Ray mentioned,
serious women in the package.
yeah, we got Junior and we got Jerry the King Lawler on commentary, as Ray mentioned. All right, so our first match, we get a recap of what went down between Hunter Helmsley and Wildman Mark Merrill, the issues they have, and Doc Hendricks. He is with Mark Merrow and Sable before the match. And Mark Merrow goes, "Welcome to the jungle, Hunter. I'm going to welcome you there." I'm like, all right. He's still trying to figure out what the wild man gimmick is supposed to be. I think he's like, I got to reference everything regarding the jungle or forest or stuff. That's what he's trying to do. First match, we got Hunter Helmsley, who comes out with this woman, just a random woman, versus Mark Merrill, Wild Man Mark Merrill, who comes out with Sable, and Merrill attacks Hunter right away, and it hits his plancha, but then he hits the post, and Hunter starts beginning the beatings on Wildman. As Junior on the commentary, he does mention there's some wild storms happening outside. Please stay with us if everything was so. I guess it's really bad. He could already tell it's bad while he's inside.
The wires were like underwater. There was so much. They were like the wires that from the truck to the arena. This is our Bruce Prichard podcast. He talked about this. They were like floating in the water.
Wow. So he knew it was bad. Yeah, they knew it was bad. That must have been a hell of a thunderstorm. That really, right?
I think they changed. I think they made sure this would never happen again, and they made it a little bit safe.
I think this was a turning point for them. It's like, let's always get
With
like
production. Yeah,
production. Yeah, so this can never happen. That's actually smart. That's good. So Hunter starts working on. He works his Merrill's left arm around the post, and he just works on it for a while. Then Helmsley goes up on top, but then Mark Merrill crotches him on the top rope to start his comeback. But then he does this thing where he does his somersault plancha from inside the ring to outside, and he jams his left knee, and when he missed it, and then Hunter though he turns his attention to Sable and he starts taunting her. Watch this, watch while I beat this wild man. And then unfortunately, that momentary distraction, that pause allows Mark Merrow to catapult Helmsley into the top buckle, and he covers him for the win. Um, I gave this a C. It's just an average match. What did you think?
Yeah, it's Mark Marrow is missing the oomph from Johnny B. Bad. I didn't hate the, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was like I would give it a B minus. I don't think it's really a C, but also it's not really lighting the world on fire. It was a solid enough opener. It gets everyone ready for the thunderstorm. So
Yeah, what's weird is like Johnny B. Bad was really good in WCW,
Mhm.
and then just coming here, something's different, something's off, and I can't even tell what it is.
Confidence is I don't see any confidence in him. I don't see any confidence. I also think a big mind fuck is having your wife with you.
Mm,
Um, and suddenly your wife is a character. He's never really talked about it. He's kind of made it pretend like he was like, "Woohoo, my wife!" But his wife went from just some hot chick he would go home to now she might be a bigger star than me.
yeah, they do mention her a lot, and she is 1996. Sable is smoking. She's gorgeous. Like her face is gorgeous.
Meltzer doesn't like to talk about it anymore, but Wade Keller does. In '98, when they started overtaking Nitro, the two biggest segments every show was Austin and Sable. They constantly
Mhm.
like Sable wasn't just like, oh, she was some hot chick that didn't matter. She legit moved the rating. She legit changed the war, and but no one wants to give her credit because she didn't do a Hurricane Rana on top of fucking Sasha Banks. So
No, but you know why? Because she didn't know how to fucking sell a chair. When somebody runs with a chair, she didn't know how to. She didn't know. Megan Bay needs to teach
Sable,
her how to
Sable,
work.
Sable would have done the right thing. So
Yeah.
she
No, but
she should really be in the Hall of Fame, dude. She made a big difference. Like you can say what you want, but she made a big difference.
100%. If you grew up in the late '90s, then you understand how big Sable was because she was legit promoted as one of the big stars, 100%.
Mhm.
And
The numbers prove it. We want to talk about ratings and demos and all this stuff. If we're gonna go by that, then you have to give Sable the crown. You have to.
yeah,
She's the
I
demo guy, the original.
yeah, I see it. But yeah, you're probably right. Having your wife there is kind of like a mind fuck, and that's probably why
I
he's starting to lose
think he
confidence.
expected. I think he ever expected
Yeah.
things to go.
So Mr. Perfect, he's like a backstage interviewer now, and he is with Jim Cornette, an injured Clarence Mason, the lawyer, Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, and another hot wife, Diana Boy Smith. And Jim Cornette is like, Mr. Perfect's asking, hey, what's that? What kind of secret plan do you guys have for today? And Jim Cornette's like, I can't give away the surprise. Um, but Owen's got something to say, and Owen's like, yeah, like Jim Cornette, he's gonna be focused on his own thing. So Owen Hart, instead of Jim Cornette, will be managing Davey Boy Smith tonight. All right, and then comes the mess that happened, and then if you're watching this on Peacock,
Goes right to
Junior
me.
Junior welcomes everybody back and say thanks for the patience. The storm caused the blackout, so none of the other matches you saw until now. So now we're back and we're going directly to the main event of night one. We got Doc Hendricks before the match begins. We got some interviews. We got Doc Hendricks in the back with Shawn Michaels and Jose Lothario. Um,
Shawn
and
Michaels was pissed at this night, by the way.
he was what?
He was pissed about this night.
Why? Because the power went out?
Yeah. He thought that like he was like yeah he was mad at God. He admits it. He was like mad at like he was pissed. He's like my title is being sabotaged by these things I can't control.
Oh, I can understand that. I can understand that. Yeah. Um, But anyway, Shawn Michaels basically says that he is not afraid of the dog because the pay per view is called Beware of Dog, and he goes, "I'm not afraid of the dog, but maybe you, Davy Boy Smith, you need to instead be afraid. Beware of the click." And then as he's leaving to go to the ring, he bumps into Mr. Perfect, and they kind of have a little bit of a stare down, which is interesting because Mr. Perfect is not a wrestler at this point.
I think they had a plan that he would eventually become a wrestler again, and which he does, but he did in WCW. But I think the plan was to keep doing teases and have him make a comeback.
Yeah, that's what I figured it was probably going to be because otherwise it just kind of doesn't make any sense. It's weird. Like,
I think like that was the long term plan. They do a program.
yeah, and I think if he had got to do a program with Mr. Perfect, I think actually it would have really helped Shawn Michaels. One thing about Brett, remember, I'm a big Bret Hart fan. He's my favorite wrestler of all time, and he mentioned this in his book when he lost to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. He purposely stepped away from wrestling because he was like, I want them to like suffer
Miss it.
without me, to
Yeah.
show you how much you need me. And you know what? Here's the thing, that is petty. That's kind of unprofessional itself. It would have been better if he was actually there and he could have worked some more stuff with Shawn Michaels. I think if I was Shawn Michaels, I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the reason why you start having a hatred to Brett,
Yeah, exactly.
because you know. But anyways, that's what happens, and we're gonna go right to match number 2, the main event of night 1. It is for the WWF title. We got Davey Boy Smith coming out with hot wife Diana Boy Smith and Owen Hart, his manager, and Shawn Michaels, the champion, comes out with his hot wife Jose Lothario. Um, on commentary, Jerry the King Lawler mentions the Playboy that Shawn Michaels is gonna Playgirl that Shawn Michaels is gonna appear in, and and Junior says, "Oh, yeah." They start talking about the Playgirl he's in. Like, "Oh no, it's just an interview." And Jerry the King Lawler was like, "I heard it was more than just an interview." Um,
Dude, saw they did that. I saw that when the NWO angle was running wild that he was in Playgirl. I was like, why did they approve that? Like, well, I
yeah,
think I heard apparently Sean Forsey, but dude, it just, there's just no way that I would have ever, and when I was 15, been like, I love WWE and I love Shawn Michaels, like with him being in Playgirl. It was such a bad move, especially with the NWO destroying everything.
yeah,
Such a
it
bad
was
move.
100% a dumb move. It was 100% a dumb move. Um, it feels like they're just trying to grasp at straws to like make him legit, you know?
I think Vince really wanted women to want to fuck him. And, I used to think women had crushes on him, and I'm realizing that not that many women had a crush on him. So
No, I think a lot of dudes had crushes on him.
I think Vince
Um,
McMahon had a crush on him.
maybe I think Vince McMahon bought a whole bunch of those Playgirls.
For me, he's
What do
not
you
new,
call it?
new to them, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's
It's
not nude, but he's hiding, covering things with the championship belt
belt.
and the
It was
towel and
horrible.
stuff like that.
You
Yeah,
might be able to get away with it like nowadays, possibly, but or even like in the year 2000. But back then, it was the dumbest thing they could have done.
I think yeah, it was. So Clarence Mason, he's out there as well. He's in a brace, a neck brace. He's in crutches, and he's in the ring, and he gives this long-winded promo about basically he's giving Shawn Michaels a summons, for Davey Boy Smith. Shawn Michaels just grabs it and rips it apart. It was so annoying. I think Clarence Mason, that's all he's there for, to try to like give the good guys one extra
Now, it
pop.
doesn't even care.
What?
Shawn Michaels doesn't even care. He's getting sued too. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, he just rips it up. Yeah,
He refuses
it's
to get along with it.
so when this happens though, Davey Boy Smith, he sneak attacks Shawn Michaels. They have a good exchange because these two do have good chemistry, but Shawn Michaels is left standing in the ring. Shawn Michaels has Davey Boy in a really long headlock, and while he's in there, the King explains This part was funny. He's talking about how like, yeah, like hot guys like me and Shawn Michaels. This is what we have to go through. Women are always constantly throwing themselves at us. I thought that was really funny. He's like hot guys like me and Shawn Michaels. Uh, King is funny. He is funny on commentary. He makes me laugh. We get multiple shots, by the way, of Diana throughout this match, and she looks so plain, and
Does
she's
it have
starting to. Dude, when was SummerSlam was 1992, right? So this is 4 years later, right? It's only 4 years later, but she aged tremendously. She's already got like wrinkles in this pay per view.
She's not. She's not a star. I think she pushed to be on TV. From the interviews I've heard of her, it sounds like she really wanted to be a character. She has no acting ability. She has no presence. She's just like a regular fucking woman, and she shouldn't have been on TV. I kind of feel like there was a push from Davey and Stu and Owen to get her on TV, and that's why she was on TV. But she shouldn't have been. She
Yeah,
should.
yeah,
It just the whole storyline they're doing would be more believable with Skip and Sonny. But Shawn Michaels ain't selling for Skip, brother.
yeah. That's true. That's probably what it was. Anyway, Davey Boy Smith, he does power lift Shawn Michaels up from an arm bar and then suplexes him down, which is a cool spot. And Davey Boy Smith, he starts the beatdown process on Shawn Michaels. Shawn fights out of a long headlock himself, and then he runs the ropes really fast, but just rolls out of the ring for some reason. And then, like, they run the ropes again. They collide. They fall down. But then Shawn Michaels kips up as Ray mentioned this is his Hulk up moment, and he just begins his offense, starts doing his moves.
He's got to be Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Davey Boy Smith, he runs the ropes though, and during this spot, he knocks the referee out the ring, and then Owen comes in. Owen comes in, but then he eats a sweet chin music by Shawn Michaels. And Davey Boy Smith, he starts beating on Shawn Michaels as Mike Chioda, the second referee, comes in. Shawn Michaels hits a German suplex with a bridge, and the bell rings. But as soon as the bell rings, Diana goes and she grabs the belt and she leaves. And Jim Cornette, he comes into the ring, he's jumping for joy. And the two referees, the original one and Mike Chioda, they come and they start arguing about who the winner was. As Diana, she has the belt and she's like leaving. Gorilla Monsoon, though, meets her in the entranceway. He grabs the belt from Diana, goes into the ring, and he gets on the microphone and he says, "This is a draw because both men's shoulders were down. But on a draw, the champion is still the champion. So Shawn Michaels is still the champion." So that was that. I forgot to give this a rating, but it's not it's like a B or C. What did you think?
I think it would be more effective for me. The double pin. I actually is one of the rare things I would have preferred a time limit draw or a disqualification. I don't think Shawn Michaels needed to have doubt in people's mind that he could beat Dave Lewis Smith. I think it kind of like people already don't buy him as champ. People already are tuning out because of him. I think if you don't want him to win, you do a DQ finish or you have him win. Um, I think that was the wrong move. I would have liked the match better with a different finish. Other than that, it is what it is. But I do kind of think you kind of got to give these two guys a pass because they were in weird circumstances, and I think if there was no flood, they might have had a better match.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment of everything. So we're gonna
Mhm.
go to the night two of In Your Beware of Dog. We got Jim Ross and Mr. Perfect on commentary in Charleston, and what do you call it?
This is where I guess on Tuesdays they shot superstars. You
Yeah.
know,
So they gave us recaps of the night one. They were saying, "Hey, there was a dark match," and they also mentioned that Ted DiBiase is putting his career on the line in this coming match. If Stone Cold Steve Austin loses, DiBiase's done for WWF. But if Stone Cold wins, Salvio Vega has to become a chauffeur. So this is going to match number 3. It is a Caribbean strap match. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin with his manager Ted DiBiase versus Salvio Vega. Austin, he has to when they lock up and they start going. Vega is obviously the good guy, so he's getting the advantage. This frustrates Austin, who has to leave the ring multiple times. But he really can't because remember they're tied up in the strap. and Vega just whips Austin with this strap multiple times. And he's the first one to start hitting the buckles. Remember, this is a strap match, a standard strap match, so you got to hit all 4 buckles. Austin does stop him. Then Austin starts whipping Vega really hard with the strap, and he hangs Vega on the ropes from the strap. I always love that spot on the strap matches. You don't like strap matches, right?
I like Sting and Vader strap match. I
I
like the
like
CM Drew McIntyre strap match of the past year.
Yeah, I like the strap match where you have to touch all 4 corners. I think that's like a fun dynamic, you know.
Yeah, no,
I
this is a pretty good match. And you know what I like about this match even more? It's that Austin reveals in a promo later on that when he got to the end of the match, he just decided to lose because he's like, I don't need Ted DiBiase anyway. This guy's in my way.
Yeah. So did they show that paper promo in this pay-per-view? No, right?
No, it's on a Raw or something. It's like it's basically him like being like, not that I want to lose, but like I kind I realized this guy was doing nothing for me and I need to get rid of him.
That's pretty good. So this
Yeah.
is a good match. It goes back and forth between Vega and Austin. Vega suplexes Austin on the floor, and they get back in the ring, and then Vega hits a superplex, and both men are down. Um, Steve Austin himself has mentioned this, but he says a lot of people do not give Salvio Vega a lot of credit. That his first feud in WWF was with Savio Vega, and he thought it was a hell of a feud, according to Steve Austin. He just doesn't think people give Vega enough credit. I tend to agree with Steve Austin. What about you?
Yeah, it's people constantly go by what Dave Meltzer says is a good worker. And Dave Meltzer has a very narrow view of what a good worker is. Dave Meltzer thinks that if you hit 16 fucking insane moves in a row, you're a good worker. And that's not it. It's telling a story with your body.
Yeah,
And a guy like Savio Vega isn't gonna fucking jump off the top rope and go through 16 tables while he's on fire. A guy like Earthquake isn't gonna do the same. And even who's another guy or Lex Luger. But they tell a story and a
mm-hmm.
believable story with their body. And Meltzer's viewpoint of wrestling, I think, has ruined it. I think it has led to a lot of injuries. I don't think Dave Meltzer really knows what a good worker is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think because Savio Vega isn't out there, like I said, doing the shit people don't think he's a good worker. And reality is he is. He is a good worker.
Yeah,
Um, Same thing with Goldust. Dustin Rhodes has been Dave Meltzer's just shit on this guy after he left WCW. And it's like, no, this guy was always a good worker. Now all of a sudden Dave Meltzer changed his tune because he's with AEW. But it's like now, but it's like he doesn't know what a good worker is. He has like a video game player's idea of what a good worker is. He has no idea how wrestling works. He doesn't. I don't care. I don't care. He's an idiot. He's
yeah,
ruined. He's rotted wrestling fans' minds.
I agree. I agree. So going back to this match, after the superplex, now begins the part of the match where they're going to be constantly going for the buckles. Vega is the first one up, and he tries to go for the turnbuckles, but Austin stops him. Then Austin gets on top of the turnbuckle, but Vega yanks him down hard, and Steve Austin gets yanked from the top turnbuckle down to the rails on the floor. And then Steve rams Vega into the steel steps. Vega returns the favor and he throws Steve Austin to the steel steps. Then he fireman carries Steve Austin and he starts touching the buckles with Austin in a fireman's carry position. But then Austin just gets off and he jerk stops him. Austin hits a pile driver and Ted DiBiase calls for one more. Hit him another pile driver. Hit him with another pile driver. So instead of going for the buckles, Steve Austin tries to go do another pile driver, but he gets back body dropped instead. Then Steve is able to lock on the $1 million dream on Savio Vega. But Savio Vega kicks off the top buckles for both of them to go back down. Then Steve Austin wraps the strap around Savio's neck, almost like in a hangsman's noose, and he starts dragging him around the buckles, and he's tagging each buckle. But as he's touching each buckle, Savio behind him is touching the buckles as well. Do you remember when Eddie Guerrero and JBL did this spot?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But it was the roles were reversed, if you remember. And when Eddie and JBL
Yeah,
did it,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But in this case, Vega is doing it from behind. They get to the
Mhm.
last buckle and they start having a tug of war with the strap because it's like the next person who touches it wins it. Steve yanks Vega though hard, and what he does is he actually yanks Vega into the last buckle. So Savio Vega wins the match. Steve Austin just leaves the ring without Ted DiBiase, and Savio Vega gets in the microphone. He goes, "You're playing the wrong music. Stop the music." And they start singing that goodbye
No.
song for Ted DiBiase as he leaves. I thought this was a very good match. I gave this a B plus. What about you? Did you like it?
Yes, and when you go with the information that Austin is going to decide to throw the match, when he yanks Savio to the corner, in the character's mind, he's probably like, you know what? Why am I fighting to keep this guy around? He's fucking useless. Just let this guy win. What is this going to do for me if I win or lose? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he yanks Savio to the corner to win. And he's like, okay, you won. Goodbye. I'm leaving. And he just leaves because, like, he realized, like, I have bigger things ahead of me than Ted
Yeah.
DiBiase, this stupid show for bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked it. I really like, and we are seeing, him not showing DiBiase any love and just walking past him and going to the back. The slow birth, the slow birth of
The
the
slow
Robert.
birth. Yes. So after that, we're back in the AOL chat room in the back. And guess who's there? It's Shawn Michaels, and he's just staring at a computer screen for a really long time. He just stares at it, and then he goes to type, and he's doing the thing where he's pressing one finger, but he looks so lost. You know what I like is that this is a joke that they just keep running with. They like over
Yeah.
the decades, they keep going back to this joke that he doesn't know how to type, right?
He's like not good with like cell phones and computers. I think he's just not good with them. Like he's just an old guy already at 96. So
Yeah, yeah. Shawn Michaels, he was somebody who just started wrestling early, so he never had to typing was
Mhm.
something that he never really needed to learn. And he admits to it. He goes, I don't know how to type or whatever. And I think it's funny that they always go back to this inside joke. It's hilarious to me. What do you call it? But what else is hilarious is Vader. This Vader in WBF is hilarious. They recap Vader squashing Yokozuna's leg, and Ross is like, "Oh, this next match is gonna be a slobber knocker." There we go. Match number 4: Vader with Jim Cornette versus Yokozuna, who attacks Vader before the music ends. The ref has to stop it. He goes after a throat chop to Vader. The ref's like, "Come on, guys, let's wait for the bell." They do the bell, and they do the thing where Yokozuna's in one corner doing the sumo stance, and Vader's in the other corner doing the NFL stance. And while they're doing the stance and they're about to run into each other, Vader shows hesitation. He's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Then they get back in the stance, and before they ran, Vader goes, "Oh, I can't do it again." So he hesitates twice. The third time, though, they decide to go at it, and Yokozuna knocks Vader down and out the ring. Then Yokozuna starts working on Vader's left leg. Yokozuna goes for the bonsai splash, but he catches Jim Cornette in the corn on the apron, and he brings him into the ring and he headbutts him. And then he decides, I'm gonna bonsai drop Jim Cornette. And when he gets up in the corner, Vader pulls Cornette out of the way. So Yokozuna lands on his ass. And then Vader starts attacking Yokozuna's left leg again. He hits the Vader bomb on Yokozuna, um, and wins the match. And he's leaving. He's selling his own left leg as he leaves. I gave this a C. There's so much potential you could have had with Vader versus Yokozuna. It's just not there.
they I'm telling you, man, they don't. It's crazy. He's on the poster of this, and he's on the poster of like the next one in your house too. So someone thinks he's marketable, but they don't believe in him, man. They just don't believe in him, and they're giving him the push, but it feels like it's against their will because they have to constantly also make him look stupid. While he should just be destroying Yokozuna, he should just be annihilating him, and they
I
both
think the
do
person who doesn't believe in him is Vince McMahon.
it. Yeah.
And
But
do
the
you
thing is,
remember when we watched the last In Your House where on commentary Junior is like, I thought this guy was supposed to be some kind of killer. Do you remember when he said that against Razor Ramon? And I think that's where he realized, Junior started realizing this guy is not like, I've been sold a lie. People like Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross and fucking Jim Cornette are all telling me, you gotta sign this guy, Vince. You gotta sign this guy. He's a killer. So he signs him based on what people are telling him. And then he sees this guy, and on commentary, he can't even help but say, like, I thought this guy was supposed to be some kind of monster, some kind of killer.
well,
And I think he's the one who decided, I don't
you
think this
he
guy's.
can. I mean, like, I would say to Vader, give Vince the match with Sting and Cactus Jack. Give him that Vader. Here's the thing: Sting and Cactus Jack were willing to get fucking hit for real. Shawn
Yeah,
Michaels,
that's the problem.
Steve Austin, and Undertaker are not going to be willing to get hit for real. So it's
So
like completely collapsed without that.
absolutely. There's a couple of times Austin gets hit for real and in other matches and he hates it. And
Mm.
I don't blame him. Professional wrestling is supposed to be fake fighting. You're
I
not
don't. I
supposed to
don't.
be really tagging the fucking guy in the face,
Yeah,
you know?
I don't like it when they hit each other. I don't like it when they hit each other for real. I think it's except when Vader and Sting do it. I don't know. But you know what? I think that was the deal those two guys made. So like they were okay with it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, man, Vader's not doing it for me, and we got a long 2 years with him until he vanishes. Yeah, this match was what it was, and it's very telling that. By the way, on the house show circuit, because I looked it up, you check study Cage Match, as Dave Meltzer said. I did. Vader is losing in house shows to Ultimate Warrior and Yokozuna on that, and when it was non-televised, they switched the finish to have Yokozuna beat Vader. So like they have no problem just beating Vader all over the circuit like he's nothing. And you expect me to think that this guy's going to beat Shawn Michaels? It's like, come on.
So I got into an argument about Vader over the weekend with somebody. Not like a bad argument, but he is somebody I could tell just didn't really watch it and just goes by what the internet says.
Mm-hmm.
And he insists that Vader got ruined in WWF because of Shawn Michaels, right? Now that
That's
I
that is the narrative that Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross are pushing. He was already ruined when he got here. Just nobody watches the show.
yes, I agree. I agree. I So now that I watched everything, that I'm watching everything with you, I think he already came in with lack of confidence and he ruined himself and Shawn Michaels was just the icing on the cake. You know, he was already ruined. Yeah, he already came in not
It's
good.
that same narrative that Luger wasn't a good worker and nobody cared about him. And then you watch the shows and people are like fucking losing their minds about this guy's
Yes.
match.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. All right. So we get a King of the Ring promo. I love this promo. I'm gonna play it out. You tell me how you feel about it. It's basically Jared King Lawler, and he's like, eating. He's in this king's area, and he's eating, and he chokes. He chokes on his food, and then he dies, and he goes to heaven, and he's in heaven. But in heaven, all these other people, like Elvis, other kings, Don King, Elvis, they start beating the crap out of him, and then he's like, where am I? Wait a minute, where am I? And it turns out it's in hell, and there is Satan, and it's Vince McMahon Jr. as Satan.
Two
Um,
women.
yeah. What did you think about this promo? If you now knowing everything we know about him, it just makes perfect sense. But remember
I
back
I thought it was kind of lame until the final shot of Vince as a devil with the women. It's like, dude, there's so much that Vince does that he's telling on himself. I think this whole Shawn Michaels storyline is Vince like living out his frustrations. I have a feeling some woman was going to Janelle Grant him at the time, and he made it a story with Shawn. You know, and
oh,
he dealt with the woman like it didn't become that, but I think he felt like he was about to get Janelle granted, and I just feel like a lot of this is so. When I saw the ending with him as Satan laughing with the two women by his side, and basically the whole thing is, I think it's a metaphor for WWE. You think you're in heaven, but you're actually in hell. You train your whole life to get here, and it's actually hell. He's tormenting you. You know what I watched the other day, and I thought it was the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. was Michael Cole's interview where he goes like, "We're not pro wrestling. We haven't been for a while. We're entertainment. We're storytelling." And I'm like, "Well, Michael Cole, if you really believe that, then why do you have a ring? Don't have a ring. Do a Raw where there's no ring, there's no arena. Do a 3 hour dramatic episode of Raw, and tell me what happens. Tell me if tell me if you think. But you're not going to do that because you're wrestling. Like you're just wrestling, and I know Vince McMahon has indoctored these people. He's fucking
Yeah.
brainwashed these people to. He's gone, and they still believe this nonsense because Vince McMahon is ashamed. And Michael Cole, down deep, is ashamed that they made all this money with two men in their underpants rolling around with each other in a ring. They're ashamed of that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. All right. There's no. In fact, you should be. I bought this house. You know what? Michael Cole should go up to his neighbor. Like, how'd you buy that house? Oh, I was a brain surgeon. Okay, I bought my house because Steve Austin stunned the president of the United States. Okay, that's how I bought my house. I'm smarter than you and I'm better than you. You should be proud that you made all this money with, but they're ashamed. We're storytelling, we're entertainment. You're not storytelling. That's how you
Well,
abandon stories.
well, a different way to look at it is put yourself in Michael Cole's shoes for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Decades. We're talking decades. We're
Just
maybe
being
what
it.
30 years of getting hammered on the head. We're
Mhm.
entertainment. We're entertainment. You can't expect an old man like Michael Cole, and he is old. He's an old man now, to all of a sudden like change that format so quickly. He has been brainwashed. He's been brainwashed for decades, and he's
Well,
only been free of Vince McMahon for a year. So give him some time. Maybe in 5 years he'll realize, you know what, we actually are wrestling. Maybe you
I
know.
think most of that company has been brainwashed by Vince McMahon. And that I think is the metaphor of the commercial is that I think Vince McMahon is telling you in that commercial, you think working for me is heaven, but it's hell, and I'm laughing at you. And
Well,
I think,
I think Mark Merrow and Vader definitely found that out.
yeah, that's the thing of it is that down deep, Vince McMahon knows it's pro wrestling. Down deep, he knows it.
Oh
But
yeah.
he it's like if I go into if I was like the manager of Caroline's and I start telling people this is not stand up, this is not stand up, this is spoken entertainment, this is not stand up, this is not stand up, those are not jokes. I just keep going like we're not a stand up comedy club, we are an entertainment venue. I keep beating that into their heads, right? I When I hear like a waitress who's there for 5 years start spewing that nonsense like it's gospel, it's almost like I feel bad. I would feel bad for her. Like, wow, you bought into my bullshit. But if you keep repeating but I think Vince is like, I'm just gonna get these people to believe the dumbest thing in the world. I'm just gonna beat into their head complete fucking nonsense until they buy it.
And you know the thing with that, with what Vince used to say, Junior would say about WBE, it was it would it
He
was
has it
it's entertainment when he wants it to be, and it's wrestling when he needs it to be. Do you know
but
ever notice that?
entertainment to get around certain laws, and I totally get that. That's a great con. But at the end of the day, nowadays, you can say we're pro wrestling. Yes, we're entertaining. And yes, you can even say, I think we tell stories better than some HBO shows and some NBC shows. You can say that. You can feel that way. But at the end of the day, it's pro wrestling. Because at the end of the day, every storyline, if it's good, has to culminate in a match in a ring.
Yes, absolutely.
They tried one time. They tried one time to just have a storyline where there was no ring involved. It was Al Wilson's having a stroke with Dawn Marie, and it was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So after that promo for King of the Ring, we get a recap of what's been going on with Ahmed Johnson.
And
Ahmed
Goldust,
Johnson, yeah, Ahmed Johnson. He was having a match on Raw, and he lost to Vader. His first loss ever in WF is to Vader,
thank
and
God.
he's stretchered out. And while he's being stretchered out in the back, Goldust approaches, and he goes, he
He
needs
put
mouth.
his tongue in his mouth.
What?
Goldust put his tongue all the way into Ahmed Johnson. For real, he
Yeah,
shoot.
he goes, he needs some mouth to mouth, and he starts kissing Ahmed Johnson.
But it worked. It worked. He was up. You can't. He
Yeah,
helped him.
after that, Goldust leaves, and then Ahmed Johnson gets up, and he's furious. He's furious that this man kissed him. This is such a Goldust is such a I find it entertaining. I don't care what people think. It's entertaining to me.
It'll be funny if Vader keeps like injuring people, and they're like, "Oh my god, I don't know if this guy could walk again." And they just kiss them, and they
Dude,
fucking whoop up out of disgust. Their injuries are healed. Like
dude,
they're just healed.
they should do a gimmick like this now.
Yeah, you just get healed. Like Jacob had to just annihilate you, and then Gold Dust, they'll make it, or whoever shows up and makes out with you, and then you like you're like back awake. You're like, well, it worked.
Um, so the reason why they showed this, by the way, is because Goldust's match is next. It's match number 5. It is a casket.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Before you continue, you know what I noticed? How ghetto looking the dressing room was back then, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
they've improved production and the quality of like their dressing rooms so much. It's kind of fucking. It's when you see like, man, they had no money. Like there's little things you watch, you're like, man, Vince had no money back then. He had no fucking money
Yeah.
back then.
That's true. That's true. This is the final match of the show. It is it's a casket match for the Intercontinental title. Goldust, the champion, comes out with Marlena, and they're gonna be facing the Undertaker, and Paul Bear comes out, but no Undertaker. And then Paul Bear gets to the ring, and he lifts the urn, and the lights turn on, and it's Undertaker. He appears in the ring. Undertaker starts beating on Goldust. Goldust tries to fight back, including hitting a tombstone pile driver of his own. And he starts rolling. What?
Dude, you know what's crazy to me watching this match?
What?
Goldust is as tall as the Undertaker. That's crazy when you see that in
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so after that tombstone, he rolls Undertaker into the he tries rolling him to the uh towards the casket, but Undertaker fights out of it, and then Goldust dumps Undertaker outside, and he starts choking Undertaker with cables. But he puts Taker back in the casket, but Undertaker's arm, will not allow Goldust to close the lid, because remember, the casket match is not just going in the casket; you got to close the lid, but Goldust cannot. Then Goldust, he goes, you know what I'll do? I'll go on top of the lid and use my body weight to close the lid, which is genius. But Undertaker just pushes the lid, and Goldust actually just falls off. Um, then Undertaker starts his mounts comeback, right? And he starts fighting a Goldust, but Goldust on the floor somehow has an edge over Undertaker, which is very weird. But he does. And then Goldust himself tries the old school maneuver that Undertaker does. So this is really interesting because Goldust is doing all of Undertaker's moves on him. He did the tombstone, and now he's doing old school. But when he does the old, what?
Impressed with Goldust this match. I thought this was him trying to make a point that I can be a WWE main eventer. I can do this. I can be like Shawn Michaels' arch enemy. Like, you know, he was trying to be a serious main event guy, and I was very impressed by this match. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how you felt, but I was impressed by it.
And I think Undertaker has tremendous amounts of the actual person, right? Mark Calloway has a tremendous amount of respect for Dustin Rhodes, because can you imagine if somebody was like, "Hey, can I during our match, can I do your moves on you?" And you have to respect the guy to allow him. What?
I think both guys are trying to say we should be the main event, not British Bulldog Shawn Michaels. I think they were
Yeah.
trying to put the point that hey man, I know I'm the dead man, but I can fucking go, and Dustin can fucking go, and you don't need to rely on the click. You can rely on us. They
Yeah,
were trying.
that's
They
funny.
didn't listen, but they were trying to prove a point. And they proved the point to me, and it's 30 years later. So
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So Goldust tries to do the old school, but he doesn't work. Undertaker yanks him off, and then the Undertaker hits his tombstone on Goldust, and then they go near their casket, and Undertaker opens the lid, but Mankind is in the casket, and he puts his mandible claw on Undertaker, and he puts Undertaker into the casket, and he closes the lid for Goldust to win the match. Then afterwards, Mankind tries to lock the casket, but the lid had already broken off, right? When Undertaker broke it when he pushed Goldust off of it. So Mankind's like locking it with this key, but it's obviously he has. I don't know why they were like, we got to keep doing this thing, even though the lid's clearly broken. Smoke starts coming out of the casket as Mankind leaves, um, and then Paul Bear finally opens the lid, which is already broken. But if the lid just falls off when Paul Bear opens it up, and there's no Undertaker in the casket, and Paul Bear is sad. He's like, "Where's the Undertaker?" And you can hear fans laughing because it is hokey. It's as shitty as the way I'm describing it, that's how shitty it is. So even though the ending part is stupid, the match I thought was pretty good. I gave it a B+. What did you think, Ray?
Yes, I enjoyed the match. I greatly enjoyed it. The finish, by the way, when the lights were out, were not just Mankind, but Triple H, Bob Holly, Isaac Yankem, all these motherfuckers run in and beat the shit out of Undertaker and throw him in the casket. That was the finish when the lights were out. So, and then Undertaker gets out of the casket and chases them all to the back. That was the finish of the night one.
Mm.
So
Okay.
Isaac Yankem got to work in the dark. I didn't know he was. I didn't know he was still Isaac Yankem as of May '96. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Still pulling teeth in 1996.
Pretty soon he's going to be pulling Elon Musk's pants down to blow him. But anyway, uh,
Ooh.
hey. So yeah, that's the show. I would say watch it. Just it is you don't see the blackout. I mean, they edit out, but it is kind of interesting to like see like them kind of like try to fix. It's not their mistake, but try to like make good. It's an interesting historical curiosity. But I never saw the show before. I feel like I didn't miss anything. I will say maybe watch the Undertaker Gold Dust match. That was surprisingly pretty fucking good. So
If you want to see a good Savio Vega Steve Austin match, that's a good one. Yeah, I would say if you guys want to see like, oh, Austin's first feud, this is the match I would suggest watching.
so
All in all, it was better than I thought it was gonna be. You know.
I want to do a new feature here because starting now, until we get to March of 2001, both companies have a pay per view every month. So we're finished with May. So who had the better pay per view in May of '96?
So it was.
It was Free versus Beware of Dog.
Wait, what was that? You broke up a little bit.
Slamboree versus Beware of Dog, which was the better show?
What did Slamboree have again?
The Battle Bowl, Sting versus Giant. It was Beware of Dog wins. I mean, let's be fucking real.
Beware of Dog wins because it's just because it's shorter, and
It definitely better matches. Come on,
yeah, they have better matches. I did like Giant versus the Sting, but
yeah, that wasn't enough to save the show. Nothing much.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it just wasn't enough to save the show. Yeah.
No, you know what? At the end of this, when we get to March of 2001, we'll determine who the better company was. Right now, WWF leads 1-0.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. But we're gonna see because the next few shows we're gonna watch, there's some bangers. We got some bangers here, right?
Bangers. WWF has some clangers. But anyway, let's go over the next 4 weeks, Andrew Lee, bro. Next week.
Yeah, tell us what the bangers are.
Great American Bash, 96, featuring the main event of Giant versus Lex Luger, but also Stephen Michaels and Kevin Green versus The Horsemen, and also Sting versus William Regal, and also the debut of The Outsiders on pay-per-view when they attack Eric Bischoff. In 2 weeks, we have King of the Ring 96, where we have Shawn Michaels versus British Bulldog, but also the final appearance of Ultimate Warrior on WWF pay-per-view ever, besides WrestleMania in 2430. And also the rise of Austin 316. Austin 316 is said at King of the Ring 96. Big show. Then in 3 weeks, Bash at the Beach 96. The main event, the NWO versus Team WCW, and also Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis. Another massive show. Probably the most important show in the history of WCW. And then in 4 weeks, all that important bullshit goes out the window because it's In Your House, International Incident, Camp Cornette versus Ahmed Johnson, Shawn Michaels, and the returning Psycho Sid. So there you go. A lot of things happening in the summer of '96. What are you excited about as we enter June?
Bash at the Beach. You?
Bash at the Beach and Great American Bash, man. I'm excited for both those shows. So WCW, I'm all about WCW as we for a while now. We're entering a big WCW golden age. So here we go.
Here we go.
All right, guys, that's the show. Beware of the dog, beware of the goots, and beware of Andrew Lee. But subscribe to us. Send some love to Jay Uso, and follow us on the things, and leave a review, leave a comment if you have some thoughts and memories about the next couple of shows. Let us know, and we will see you next week for the Great American Bash, Daddy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew Lee, bro.
You're welcome.